Welcome back to Rollin with Olan. I'm Jeff Olan, your host. Thank you all again for joining me. Today I have an incredible guest. I've known him for many, many years, and he has finally agreed to do my podcast, so I'm thrilled about it. Please help me welcome to the show, extraordinarily, the best casting director that I know, Mark Teschner. Thank you so much, Mark, for joining me.
Well, that is quite an introduction. I'd better hope I live up to that on this podcast. And by the way, when you said finally, it's not like you've been tracking me for years. I think it's been just a couple of months. So I'm happy to be here,
Well,
Jeff.
it has been, but people you know, just so people understand, with these podcasts and what have you, how we, go about how I go about finding the people to be on the show. I have to reach out to you guys, and the schedules are crazy, and your schedule is so crazy. So I'm just so thankful that you've had the time now to come on and, play with me, basically just have a conversation about casting and about life and about actors and all that. But I want to
Sir.
start out, Mark, with you grew up in New York, if I've got that correct. You grew up in New York. Can you tell us about your young years? What was little Mark Teschner thinking in the neighborhood in New York as he was growing up, and just give us a little background on your early years.
Sure. Well, I was born in New York City. I was actually born in Harlem, to be precise,
Oh,
on 138th and Fifth Avenue. But I was raised in Scarsdale, New York, which is a suburb about 20 miles north of Manhattan.
hmm.
But for me, it was an ideal place to grow up. It was very idyllic. I did every sport, school. But the cool thing was my parents were very into the arts. So at a young age, I was exposed to theater. I
Hmm.
was exposed to ballet. I was exposed to music. My first Broadway show, I was 7 years old. I saw It's a Bird, It's a Plane, It's Superman. Uh, Unfortunately, it was not a super musical. It didn't run long, but I had the album and I would listen to it all the time. And I grew up where my parents and grandparents had show albums playing. I think I grew up to The Fantastics, Fiddler on the Roof, all these classic musicals. And so I really got the bug of theater and the arts. I mean, I was fortunate. I was exposed to it. Um, I moved to New York, actually, New York City, right after college when I graduated in 1979,
And where did you
which
go to
seems like
college?
a by the way, it seems like a lifetime ago when you say it,
Yeah, 1979.
1979.
Yeah.
I went to Connecticut College in New London, Connecticut. It's a liberal arts school.
Oh, great.
I was an English major, which in some ways is not your classically useful major. It's not like a major that you're applying to a career. But for me, it just prepped me for life in terms of how you communicate, how you
Yeah.
write, that kind of a thing. So I was very fortunate. And so, but I've always been a New Yorker until late 1989 when I was offered General Hospital and moved out to do the show. So
Well,
I've been here 35 years. In fact, ironically enough, this is just a weird thing. I started December. I think December 5th is my 35th anniversary casting General
oh,
Hospital
General
and moved
Hospital.
out like November 30th.
Well,
So
Mark.
I've been here so long, I consider this my hometown as well, for
Yeah.
sure.
Mark, you're so loved by actors in the industry, obviously by producers and directors you work with as well. How did you get that transition, or how were you offered that job coming out of New York and out of college and all that 35 years ago? How were you offered right away General Hospital? How does that happen?
Sure. Well, here's how it happened because I was casting the soap Loving in
Mhm.
New York, ABC, for about 4.5 years. And in my last year there, they changed producers and they brought in a new producer, as sometimes happened with very long running shows. And the new producer was there for a year. And then he called me down the hall. He said, close the door. And I'm like, oh. And then he told me he had been made the producer of General Hospital and would I like to come out? Well, I obviously said yes right away because I had visited Los Angeles and I always wanted to move here. And it was a no-brainer, yes. But it was my work with this producer on Loving, named Joe Hardy, that led me to this. And it's a funny story how these things work out. And this is not just about showbiz, but this is just about life.
Hmm.
And you come to a fork, you go left, you go right, whatever it is. But my journey to daytime was, I could chart back all the way to maybe 1984.
Hmm.
I was speaking on a panel with other casting directors to a group of actors because I like to speak. I like to inform. I like to uh, hopefully inspire actors and
Yes.
give really good advice. But on the panel was a woman, Mary Lynn Henry, who at that time was head of casting for ABC Daytime. There was a casting director that oversaw all the soaps from the network because at that time there were four soaps on the air. And she connected with me. She liked what she heard. She liked what you had to say, and then referred me to casting a couple of roles on a soap called Ryan's Hope.
Sure, I
They
remember.
were moving offices, and they needed just help. They have a regular casting director, and then I heard about Loving, also on ABC. It followed Ryan's Hope. Was looking for a 6 month temporary casting director for a maternity leave to fill in. Well, I ran my resume from my office on 52nd Street up there and dropped it off. Um, I think I ran it because I don't think I at that moment had much cab money. So, we all start somewhere, right?
Sure.
And I dropped it off, and about an hour later they called, "Can you meet?" And then I got that gig. So, in other words, the domino effect of being in a room with somebody that sees you and responds to you and says, "Hey, you guys should meet this person." And that led to Loving. And 6 months turned into 4.5 years. And then that turned into General Hospital. So the journey to get here initially started when I was speaking to a group of actors on a panel with other casting directors. At that moment, I had no idea that that was going to be that seed that was going to bring me out here. And fortunately, it did. And because you never know what your path's going to be. And I people say to me, "What's the most fun job you've ever had?" I'm like, General Hospital. It's incredibly fun and rewarding. But the reason I tell that story is by saying yes to something in terms of trying to be present to people, you just never know what can come out of it. And that's whether you're in showbiz or life, wherever you are in the world. Somebody says, "Hey, would you speak on this panel with me?" Or whatever. Yeah. So if you can, you can.
That's a great point. It's being in the right place at the right time. Getting to being in a room with somebody. I told a story last week on my show about being in a room with Quentin Tarantino and how that I did Pulp Fiction. That was my first movie that I ever did extras casting on. So to get that
Huge fun.
opportunity, you just never know. And this with you and the situations with you, I mean, it goes on and on because you have, let's remind people or let's just tell people you have been involved in over 9,000 episodes of General Hospital. That's insane. I mean, I thought when
Yeah.
I was involved with 365 episodes of Grey's Anatomy, I was insane. By the way, I used to cross the General Hospital offices almost every day, had thought about it so much to stop in and see you as I was going to the set of Grey's Anatomy because we both shoot on
Sure.
Prospect over
Where
there.
the buildings are right next to each other.
Yeah, exactly. But as we both know, time is very limited. You go to meetings and you got this and you got that and you've got so much
Totally.
going on. It's like I couldn't even stop in for a minute. And
Yeah.
and
I
plus I
get
know
it.
you would be busy too. But another story, a little thing I want to tell you. Years ago when I was acting, Mark, I so wanted to audition for you. It just never happened. But I got an audition with, do you remember Doris Saba?
Yes.
Doris
Oh,
was
Days of Our
Days of Our
Lives.
Lives,
Yes.
correct. And I remember her saying to me, Jeff, I've got an under five for you. Would you do 50 words or less? And I was like, of course I would. So, I did it and I did it probably about 10 times. I really enjoyed that show. And I did some others. I did Santa Barbara, if you remember. I did Capital, as you remember. And we talk about like those shows, Santa Barbara and Capital, they were short term soap operas. And you have a soap opera like General Hospital that has been going on for so long. And
62 years, by the
and
way.
congratulations on 35 years of casting. it's incredible how you got into the industry and casting. I know Rolling Stones magazine has called you the actor's casting director. How does that make you feel?
Amazing, because that's what I want to be. I mean, there's a lot of cast directors that are actor casting directors in the sense that we're the actor's advocate. So you could, in some way, say any casting director worth their salt should be an actor's casting director in the sense that we're rooting for the actor. It's our job to help the process.
Hmm.
You know, there's sometimes with some people is this thought process of, oh, they're waiting to say no, they're waiting to reject me. When the truth is, it could not be, as you know, further from the truth. We are waiting to say yes.
Yes.
We are waiting for someone to walk in that room and be the answer to what we're looking for. We've got this puzzle of the show, General Hospital, and maybe there's a piece that we need to fill. We want that actor to be that piece. So we are actually actor casting directors because we are advocating for the actor, even though it's easy to feel with all the rejection
Yeah.
and all the numbers, the staggering proportion of how many actors there are to actually how many jobs, that the deck is stacked against you, but really everyone's starting at the same place. Somebody gets that first job, which then leads to another. Well, for example, Pulp Fiction, you've got the poster in the background.
Yeah.
Because you did good work on that, it's not just that you got the job, it's that you did the work. It led to other work and other work. Getting in the door is great, but the way to stay in the room once you've got in the door is to do the work, to build your relationships with people that want to work with you, not just because you're a nice guy, but because you deliver. So, for anybody in any field, it's great if you get that opportunity to get in the door. But that's the first step. That's where the work, you've got the work to get in the door, but then you've got the work to do the work, to create something that people respond to, which leads to other work and other referrals. That's how, in casting, many people make their living.
Hmm.
Certain accounts work with certain casting directors. They have a connection, the body of work is there, and they work with the same casting directors on multiple projects. It's about, I tell people it doesn't happen in a restaurant, it doesn't happen at a cocktail party,
Hmm.
it happens in the room. So the job is to get in the room where it can really happen, where you can really make an impression in a substantial way.
Well, how do actors get on the radar to audition for someone like you?
Well, there's no one particular way per se,
Hmm.
but the overall way an actor gets in front of me is when I release a breakdown of roles I'm casting to all the managers and agents. I get the submissions and then I audition actors from that. Recently, I put out a breakdown for a day player, a 1 day day player, and I got 2,300 submissions. And that's for a day player, 1 day.
It's called competition.
When I have a specific under five, that 5 lines or less that you're talking about,
Yeah.
where I don't necessarily have somebody off the top of my head, I'll release a breakdown, and I actually got 3,000 submissions for an under five
Wow.
2 years ago. Now, let me say this about the under five, and then I'll go back to the
Hmm.
process. The fact that your 1 day turned into 20 is a testament to when people see your work, it creates possibilities for more work. In my 35 years on the show, I've had under fives where we responded to them, we brought them back in a larger role.
Hmm.
Um, I've had day players where we liked them so much they became contract roles.
Hmm.
So work begets work, first of all.
I was
So
going to ask you that,
I
so
tell
thank you.
actors, don't turn down an opportunity to work
Mm.
unless you have an immoral objective, which is totally appropriate. You're not comfortable with a certain role, totally appropriate. But to judge the size of the role when it might be your way of being on set where producers can see you and respond to you. I've had my executive producer, Frank Valentini, who I've been with for 14 years, say to me, Tesh, I really like that under five. Let's bring them back or whatever. And that's kind of one way that what seems like a very small supporting role can generate a longer term possibility for an actor. But in terms of getting seen, I'm giving you an example of just the numbers. I'll audition actors. Other ways to be seen. I see shows. I have friends that direct and that act in them, and I'm inclined to. And when I see their shows, if I like an actor, they're going to be on my radar.
Mm.
I've hired many actors who I saw in plays. And the other way is if you happen to be on something and it happens to catch my eye that I'm watching, I'll remember you. Because what I do is I do screenshots
Hmm.
of the cast if I respond. I remember I remember watching an episode of This Is Us.
Uh-huh.
And it was a very tiny two-line role of a nurse, but she really was good. Like so much was going on. And I happened to hire her for an under five, thinking that's it. I actually thought the character died. Turned out the character didn't die. She was kidnapped, and she got to come back for four roles with huge day player with the same character. Nobody knew at the time, but because I saw her on the show, because she didn't say no to playing nurse number three on This Is Us, she ended up playing Abigail or whatever the character name was on mine, and that led to work. So I always try to give examples rather than just philosophy of there's no one way for these things to happen. For an actor, you're creating opportunities to be seen separate from hoping your agent gets you an appointment and gets submitted. And you get submitted.
Yeah, thank you for that explanation because it does take, it takes a lot more to get seen by you and others, other casting directors. You have to have like, headshots are really important, I'm guessing, and psychological,
Well, now they are, but they're screenshots
they're
on
screenshots, right?
every because all submissions are electronic
I
now.
was going to ask you that. So you do not go into, I mean, it's all like self tape now still.
Not just for me, but for
Yeah, for the industry as a, yeah.
the industry at
There's
large. You know,
not a lot of in person auditions anymore.
right? We do in-person auditions for recurring
Hmm.
kids, where my executive producer wants to connect to them in a room, see if they're present, or if it's a major recurring role that could be possibly a love interest, we'll have the actor read with the actor on the show
Hmm.
in the producer's office. If it's somebody's mother that's going to be recurring, more than one episode, we'll maybe bring them up and see their chemistry in the room. So we do, in fact, have in-person auditions, but the preliminary process is all self-tape. And it's funny because recently, in the past 3 months, I probably had more. Oh, also, if it's a series regular role,
Yeah.
we'll have callbacks, many times multiple sessions,
Mm.
and then whittle it down from the callbacks to see who we're going to screen test for the role. But so I would say in the last 3 months, we've definitely had more in-person auditions than in the past 3 years or so. And the common denominator is when the actors are waiting in the room, including very busy working actors, very recognizable actors. They all say, "This is my first in person audition in 3 years. I'm nervous." And they have this huge body of work. So it is kind of tiptoeing back, but the whole world of COVID changed the dynamic.
Yeah.
And I want to say something about that because I have a lot of actor friends. And we've had these conversations where actors feel, well, I'm missing the element of being in the room where you
Yeah.
walk in and you can feel, you can connect and do your thing and you can get an adjustment and all of those things. I get it. Completely get it. Because I love the energy of when you connect to a human being in real life as well as an actor in the room.
Yeah.
However, I say, well, the actor's job is now to connect on that screen because that's what we're going to be looking at. So when I'm watching an audition, I'm waiting to connect right off the bat. Is that actor present? Are
Hmm.
they alive? Is there something going on before they even speak? That's where the actor has to connect. The flip side of that, and this is something else I want to say, because of self tapes, I can see many more actors than I could before. Because in with all the in-person auditions, I could see 45 a day.
Hmm.
When I was in crunch time and would have to work on a weekend, I saw 82 a day.
Mm. It's
And
crazy.
still spread them out so it didn't feel like a cattle call. But let's say I'm averaging 45 people a day. And I'm not just working on one series regular. I might be casting 4 day players, other series regulars. The point being, there's only so much time in the day. So maybe for series regular, I could see 250, 300 actors.
Hmm.
Now I can see 4, 5, 6 and find somebody that I might have missed with an in-person audition. So it's actually creating more opportunity for an actor. And this is not just me saying this. This is my casting director friends. We can see more actors because I can watch auditions anytime I want during the regular day, of course. I watch actors audition at night.
Hmm.
I watch them on weekends. Technically, I'm casting 7 days a week because I'm always watching actors because, we have lots of roles coming up and I have to cast them. And then from the self tapes for like day players and things like that, I'll watch all the auditions and I'll send my executive producer maybe 7 or 8 that I feel are giving him a nice range of options, and then he'll choose one of those actors. So there is very much the opportunity for an actor to be seen. I know that a lot of actors tell me they feel like their audition goes in the wasteland and doesn't get seen. Uh, No, it does get seen because if I had the role cast, I wouldn't need to have the auditions. I wouldn't need to watch all these auditions and do the work if I had the role cast. So any audition that an actor gets, it's a level playing field because everybody's competing for that same role.
Yeah, really well said. You talk about how people are doing the self tapes and this and that and what have you, and people still are putting together actor reels. Can you describe the ideal actor reel, and do they still need them? Probably,
Yeah, yeah.
not
I
for
think
soaps,
reels
but
are important
yeah.
for in
So,
general. Yeah.
yeah, can you describe what a perfect acting reel is, like time wise, and what they should
Usually,
have in it?
usually a good actor reel is 3 to 4 minutes of your best work, um, current work. Sometimes I see reels and it's literally 10, 15 years old, and I'll call the agent and say, this actor has like 5 recent credits from the last 2 years. That's what I want to see. Yeah, we've tried to get him to update his reel. He hasn't done it. And that doesn't help me. And it also doesn't help the actor. So the actor has to stay on top of keeping it current. Um, Sometimes uh, the reels are comedy and drama divided, where you get an opportunity to see both. But it's your best work, your most current work. Um, if you don't have a lot of work to put on a reel, create a reel.
Hmm.
Do something. I always tell actors, don't wait, create. In other words, shoot something. But it doesn't have to necessarily be film quality, but it's got to be well lit. Well, Mike, you could shoot stuff on iPhone. Seeing something, you can
Right.
create a reel where it's an opportunity to see an actor doing something to maybe help us decide if we want to bring them in or not, or if we've already auditioned them, to help us decide if there's something else that we can see from that actor to help us make that decision. And I think those things are very, very important. Um, a lot of times with substantial day players, sometimes we'll cast it off the reel where there's just such a substantial body of work with a well-known actor. But it's very important for an actor to create some kind of reel, some kind of work.
Yeah, creating is so important. We even in the background community, we get photos that, like you said, they're so outdated. People
Right.
send in something with just a tiny little headshot, and then they show us this whole background that's getting more attention than the headshot itself. So I always say, you've got to be aware of where you're at. Don't send in a photo with anybody else in it. Don't send in a reel with anybody else in it. It should be about you. And I
Well, the
think a
reel can
lot of
have the other person in the sense of you're doing a
right.
scene.
If you're doing a scene, that's one thing. But if you're just there and there's all kinds of stuff going on in a park, we don't want to see that. And, look, folks, actors, anyone who's, checking this podcast out, listen to Mark. He is the most well known at what he does and one of the best at what he does in the world. And I don't just say that, I'm so thrilled to have you doing this and giving this information out to people. And you say how you get 2,500 submissions for any one little role. I mean, it's incredible. And it's like how do actors work their way through? But they have to keep going, right, Mark? I mean, everybody has to keep going. It's not just trying one thing and getting rejected. If you're feeling rejection in this industry, you really shouldn't be doing this on a daily
Right.
basis. Do you want to say
It's a
something about
long
that?
haul. It's a long haul. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint because it can take years for an actor to get even their first job. And so an actor has to constantly be finding ways to create opportunities. I have friends that have created web series, and I've watched various web series that have been created, and the quality is very good because at the end of the day, the better the quality, the more it reflects on the actor.
Yeah.
Um, and they have created stuff. I've hired actors where I saw them in a web series and thought they were terrific. So you've got to come at it in a creative way in terms of creating opportunity to be seen. There's so many, I don't know the number of actors, but there's over 100,000 actors in LA. So there's going to be a substantial amount of frustration and disappointment. But like you say, if you want to do it, you have to keep at it. And it's really, to me, it's about the love for acting, not the love of the idea of being an actor,
Yeah.
the love of the craft, the passion an actor feels where they have to act. And you could take that into the real world. Whatever it is you do in life, you have to find a passion for it because are you looking for a job or a career?
Yeah.
Something that inspires you. I have days where I'm stuck and it's frustrating, but I go to work every day loving what I do. It's my passion.
Yeah.
So it's a job, but it doesn't, it's a career. It defines a lot of who I am. And for an actor, you really have to love it because you've got to navigate the ups and downs in the business.
Yeah, I mean, I'm the same as you. I have this passion. I've been doing this now for I don't know, almost 3 decades, almost as long as you, but not quite. But we have to, you have to have that passion. You have to get up every day and go and do the best you can, even as casting directors, and as actors or whatever it is that we're trying to do and succeed in life. Let me ask you: is there a difference, Mark, when you're casting for like a daytime TV show rather than a primetime television show or films? Is there a difference for you in casting?
No, everybody's looking for the same thing.
Hmm.
For series regulars is somebody that has the talent, the skill, the presence, something about them that brings a character to life in a way that an audience is going to watch them for 3, 4, 5, 6 years. For a day player, I'm looking for an actor that's really going to make that character interesting. So whether primetime, film, or daytime, the mandate is always the same. Find those electric actors that are going to bring something to life. And I just thought of something, we're talking about self tapes.
Yeah.
Um, 4 years ago, uh, we hired an actor, 19-year-old actor, who sent in a self tape from Florida. He was living in Florida.
Hmm.
He flew out for the screen test, booked the role, series regular.
Wow.
So he had the opportunity through a self tape to get it
Yeah.
seen. First year on the show, won the Emmy for Outstanding Younger
Oh
Actor
my
from
God.
Florida, out of the blue. Second year, also received an Emmy. After he finished 3 years with us, we lost him to the big hit Monsters on Netflix, where he plays one of the Menendez brothers, and Javier Bardem is his father.
Oh my.
But he sent in a great self tape from Florida. He did the work. He didn't need expensive equipment. You need a ring light and a neutral background and a phone that takes good video, like you and I are
Yeah.
talking. And the work shines through. We didn't need production values. It's not this giant expense to put that together. And for him, his world changed from sending in that self tape because he did the work.
That's an amazing story,
It's a great
and
story.
it really is. It's an amazing story of just how things can happen. Think out the box, think outside the box, as we all say, right? And I think actors have to do that constantly. So, do you guys ever scout for talent that are in other states, or do you? Because I know you say you see talent on TV, or you see, people in plays or whatever. But do you and your team ever scout for talent
No,
in the states?
we don't leave. We don't leave.
L.A. or California.
LA to find it, because now with self tapes, we have access to seeing actors everywhere. In fact, when a lot of actors send in their auditions through their agents and managers, some of them live in Atlanta, some of them live, well, Florida, Chicago, all over the place.
Yeah,
So it's a very different world in terms of being able to find talent. When I was casting the spin-off of General Hospital, well, there have been a couple, but Port Charles,
Port Charles. Yeah.
it was on the air from 1997 to 2003, and it became the sister show to General Hospital. In other words, set in General Hospital with some of the core characters from General Hospital and eight interns trying to make it. It was actually Grey's Anatomy before there was a Grey's
Oh
Anatomy.
wow.
And ironically enough, when the show went off the air, Grey's Anatomy actually took the production facility. But the reason I'm bringing it up is, so for these eight interns, I auditioned 1,750 actors in New York, LA, and Chicago. Back then, I flew to Chicago. I flew to New York to see actors. Now I can see the
You don't need to.
auditions as they
Yeah,
come to me. I can see more actors than I could, because instead of being in New York for 2 days, I can view hundreds of actors from New York. So it actually streamlines the process for me because I can see more actors, and then I wouldn't have had to travel as much. Not that I'm adverse to it. I loved doing it. It was really fun. Although it was exhausting because I was also doing GH at the same time.
yeah,
So there is this opening for actors that don't live here to send in auditions and hopefully get seen. There's not one way to go about it, but definitely that's how we're able to see actors from all over the place. I can see really actors, technically I can see actors and not necessarily even know where they live when the audition comes in.
yeah. What do you think it is with you with your eye for talent? Because you have seen, so many actors as we've talked about. You've done so much. To be a really good casting director. Have you ever thought about that? Like, what do you have that others may not?
No, I don't think that, just because I have so many casting directors that are my friends that are unbelievable casting directors. But what I can tell you is that it starts with loving what you do
Yes.
so that you're invested in it. And you also, as you get into casting, have to have a basic baseline of knowing what good acting is.
Yeah.
And for me, it was growing up watching theater in college, studying theater, performing in plays. I think I did 12 plays in college.
Mm,
Being able to really understand what good acting is. Now, there's no one way in for casting. Many casting directors didn't start as an actor, but then you just do it. And the more you do it, the better you get. Your eye becomes better. Your gut instincts become very clear. You know, you can sense things in a way. I am a much better casting director now than I was 35 years
mm,
ago. I'm a much better casting director than I was 25 years ago. I'm better because I do it so much that my eye has been trained and my gut instinct. So apply that to anything that anybody wants to do, whether you're an actor, whether you're a craftsman.
hmm.
The more you do it, the more your technique becomes refined, the more you see things that you didn't see initially. There's a reason why rookie quarterbacks in the NFL have a steep learning curve, because they don't see the field the way they do the more they do it. You can have talent and instincts, but you have to work at it and develop it. And that's why for an actor, you start with loving the craft, but
Yeah.
then you have to invest in the time and the energy that it takes to master the craft.
Yes.
And not even master, to become better at it. And that's why I tell actors, if you're not working, shoot some stuff with your friends. If you can't do that, get together with your actor friends. It can be in person, it can be on Zoom, and do cold readings with each other.
Hmm.
Because A, it makes you better at cold readings,
Yeah.
but B, you're still practicing the craft of acting every week. It's like going to the gym. You want to build that muscle. You skip a week in the gym, you feel it when you come back. So acting to me is a muscle that has to be used, that has to be flexed in order to grow as an actor and as an artist. So it's there, you can't make it even about the cost. There is no cost to get together and read with friends. And I really am a big believer in find a way to act. And if it's not in front of a camera at the moment, just find a way to act because you're just getting better.
Yeah, I always tell actors, you're your own tool. Make sure that tool is sharpened all the time.
That's
Constantly do
good.
things for yourself to become better and to be able to make yourself better every single day. Take at least 2 hours a day and work on your craft, which is so important. But see,
Exactly. Exactly.
right? I mean, every day they should be working on it. I always say, don't come out to Los Angeles just to go to the beach because that's not going to get you anywhere as an actor, or go to New York just to go play around. You need to spend time on your craft every single day in order to sharpen it. And look, getting this advice from you, a lot of the people in my audience know, but for the ones that don't, well, first of all, do you ever pinch yourself knowing where you are at? I mean, look, Mark, you are an 11 time, I believe I've got this right, 11-time daytime Emmy winner. That's
Yes.
unbelievable. I believe it's 11 times, right? So where do you
Correct.
keep all those trophies?
They're in the office on a credenza.
It's
So when I'm
amazing.
having a day where I can't come up with an idea, I look at the credenza and say, okay, I must be doing something right.
And you get,
Although the funny thing is, in my head,
yeah,
I always, this is true. I only feel like I'm as good as the last role I cast.
yeah.
It's just this mentality I have that you can't rest on your laurels, that I'm only as good as this next day player coming up. Um, and in terms of pinching myself, I feel amazing gratitude
I bet.
for this opportunity, for doing something I love. And of course, to be acknowledged for it is really great, but I love it. And I'm a big believer, and this is going to sound very new agey, but I believe in gratitude,
Yeah.
being thankful for what you have and appreciative of that, because it's so easy in life to say, I don't have this or I don't. But when you think about things to be grateful for, it changes your whole point of view. And there's not a day that I don't go into the office feeling grateful for this amazing gig and this amazing thing that I love so much.
You have been so blessed. It's wonderful. Let me ask you this: how do background actors submit for General Hospital? Is,
Right.
yeah,
Well, I have a wonderful associate, Lisa Booth, who oversees that. A lot of times, actors send in their photos to the office. Other times, when they get hold of an email, they send stuff and let them know they're interested in background. And we're always looking for new people. We there because you want to see your regulars in the hospital,
hmm,
but you always have room for new people. Our show has a gazillion sets. We have scenes coming up in Germany. We've been to Greece. We've been to Africa. Um, I had to cast. Uh, I've had to cast guards in Kenya. The point is, we're everywhere.
yeah.
So there's literally opportunity for an actor, background work across the board, because we're a show where, even though we're set in a fictional like city in upstate New York, the General Hospital world, which also has adventure and intrigue, is everywhere. So there's always opportunities for new actors, and we welcome that.
I love that. I love that. So, with the overall vision of General Hospital, what's the collaboration like with casting? I mean, are you collaborating a lot with the producers and directors, or is it, hey, Mark's been here so long, Mark can make
No,
these calls?
no. Well, every relationship with the producer is different.
Yeah.
Um, but the only thing I collaborate on is casting. I don't have my hands in anything else. We
Hmm,
have amazing writers, and I think the staff is over 12 because
hmm.
you're writing outlines, scripts, dialogue. Um, so my only collaboration in terms of casting is with the producer. And there's great trust there, because if there wasn't, you wouldn't be working with that producer. I've worked with producers where they didn't see the day players until they were shooting on set. I've worked, but in this instance, we're very collaborative, and we whittle it down together. And you share a vision. You share a vision with your producer,
Hmm.
but your job is also to give them options. So my executive producer, Frank Valentini, I worked very closely with. He knows what he wants, but I'll send him a range of people to give him choices, and he trusts my ability to send him this group out of all the groups that I see. And it's really fun. It's very collaborative. We have to move quickly. Remember, we shoot 250 episodes a year, which is a staggering number when you really think about it. So we have to be creative. I have to see as many actors as possible, but we're also moving quickly because I hire an actor and about a week later they're taping and
Yeah.
I'm watching them in my room on the monitor. And then 3 weeks after that, they're on the air. So you get to see, what's fun is I get to see the work really quickly in the sense of they shoot the show and then 3 weeks later I'm watching them and it comes full circle. I still get a kick out of watching the show and seeing new people appear on the show. I still love it.
Yeah. Look, I don't know if it's still, and that is, I mean, it's so exciting to see, especially the talent that you've cast and they're out there right away. And I don't know if it's still the case, but I'm guessing it is with soaps. When I worked on Days of Our Lives or Capital or whatever, because I was usually a five and under, I would go in, I'd get the pages just that day and I'd have to learn it like
No,
that.
no, 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 that's not us.
That's
No,
not you. Okay.
they don't do that
All
anymore.
right.
All the
I'm
soaps,
ancient.
you're not ancient. It's just usually actors get the script. The scripts come to the actors 5 to 7 days in advance.
Right.
There may be changes made, but the actors get it 5 to 7 days in advance, whether you're an under five or a series
Wow.
regular.
Well,
So
things have
it really,
changed.
and also to clarify a misconception, there's no cue cards, there's no teleprompter. You are in that moment, and you could be an actor if you're a series regular or a major recurring. You could have 30, 35 pages a day because we shoot multiple episodes in a day. We don't just shoot one episode, we shoot pieces. We have an actor, he's a series regular. He started recurring a year ago. Fantastic actor. And very well known to Prime. He said, I've never had to work harder. And we had an actor who had 70 pages of dialogue shooting one
Unbelievable.
because they were shooting parts of 3 episodes in a day. So you have to come in prepared.
That's crazy.
Series regular, day player, recurring under five. You have to come in. You've made some choices and you bring it. And if we need to change it or give an adjustment, producers come out and say, let's try this. But we really move. We really move quickly. We shoot over 100 pages a day.
It's amazing. It's amazing. And I remember even when I was doing it, I would take pratfalls. I was a security guard a couple of times. I got hit by, a couple of the leads and I went down, and they put out a pad for me. I don't know how they do it nowadays or if they're stunt
Stunt
people.
people.
Yeah, that's it.
Anybody that takes a hit, a punch, or throws a punch is a stunt person.
Yeah. And I would imagine. So we,
Well,
we are dating
there
myself.
are actors on the show that do take
Yeah,
hits but we have a stunt coordinator because you can't replace that actor
that's
getting it.
right.
We have a stunt coordinator and it's done very, very carefully. So there's
Things have
no
changed over the
fur.
years is what you're telling
Yeah.
me.
We wouldn't bring in an actor and just say, oh, you're going to get hit this day. No, that's changed a lot.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's fine. I'll dig up one of the tapes I'll send to you. You'll get a kick out of it. But
I'm ready to see that.
you've also served as vice president of the Casting Society of America. How was that, and how long did you serve for?
I think I served for a couple of years, and this was quite a while ago. And I've also been on the board of governors of the
Hmm.
Television Academy, representing casting directors. And really, for me, what it's about is doing something for the casting community, making our voice heard.
Hmm.
It's always about building respect for the casting directors, for the visibility, the acknowledgement. And I think that with casting finally getting Oscars,
Mm.
that's the cherry on top because it's acknowledging that, yeah, you can't have an Academy Award winning film without an Academy Award winning cast. So that to me is the kind of the final frontier where audiences who maybe don't even know what a casting director is, somebody in the Midwest who's watching a movie, upfront billing, you see the casting director,
Yeah,
and therefore it's landing what we do. And until now, casting was the only craft that would have upfront billing but no Academy Award. So
yeah,
it was all about laying the foundation and continuing to work for casting directors to say, we're here. This is a skill, this is the craft, it's an art, really.
hmm.
And just the visibility and the acknowledgement of what it is casting does.
Well, you work so hard and you've got so much going on, and I want to get into just a few more things before we wrap this up. But, what is your guilty pleasure that you might do in your off time? Because everyone's got something or another.
Yeah, I don't know if I have really too many guilty pleasures per se. Um, but I really feel it's important to have a work-life
Yeah.
balance. I'm always available 24/7 if somebody from work needs me. I've hired actors at midnight because somebody fell out.
Mm-hmm.
But I enjoy, I like riding bikes.
Mm-hmm.
I practice yoga. There was a period where I worked on meditation, but that's kind of come and gone. But I find ways to just relax. You know, I'm surrounded by great friends. I'm very conscious of you can't be great at what you do if that's the only thing you are doing.
Mm-hmm.
I find time for relationships to just go on this journey with someone else as opposed to just being isolated in a bubble. Um, I have a 19-year-old daughter in college in the Midwest, and
Wonderful.
she's, everything. And so I feel like I have people outside of me that fulfill me separate from my work. I'm always casting. I could be watching a television show or a movie and I'm still working, but it doesn't feel that way. I watch a lot of television. I'll have many days where I'm, a couch potato, and then I'll have an event or two to go to. I have an event tonight, and that's always fun. But I really pared back on going to everything that comes up and really found mark time, which is really important to me.
Which is so
It's about having
important.
balance for actors. Many actors have other creative areas that they are amazing in: music, painting. Explore those as well. You can live a passionate life as an actor slash artist and still have time for relationships.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to suffer for your art. I'm a big believer in that. You can have a beautiful, rich life and still find a way to pursue acting with all your heart and passion and dedication. I think balance.
Anybody who's listening or watching can tell the passion you have. And it's so important. And you talk about balance in life. I was just texting a friend something about that this morning. Everything in life is about balance and making sure that you're enjoying every part of it, because this is no dress rehearsal. We're here right now, and this is what we're doing, and we have to make the best of it. Question that I have in my mind, I'm thinking about
Sure.
a lot of soap actors don't seem to move on. They stay with soap work. Is there a reason for that you think? I mean, I think a lot of people do stay with soaps.
Well, a lot do, but a lot don't, in the sense that we're looking for the best. Certainly, we have actors that have been on the show 10, 20, 30 years, that their characters are hugely popular
Hmm.
and they continue to stay with the show. And we continue to invest in those characters. Um, I cast Maurice Bernard, who's been Sonny Corinthos on the show, one of the main characters,
Hmm.
30, 32 years
I
ago.
hope you got a bottle of
Uh,
wine for that.
I did, but I will talk to Maurice about that. But there have been many actors that are currently on the show that have been on 10, 20, 30
Yeah.
years. There are actually actors there's a few actors that have been on the show for 40 plus years. But I can tell you this: if you look at the cast photo from when I started to the cast photo now, there's two actors from 35 years ago. I was going to my shoe repair guy, and he had a cast photo of General Hospital from, I want to say, about 20 years ago. Color, really nice photo. And I looked at it, said to my girlfriend, there's only five actors from that photos that are on the show. And the reason I'm saying that specifically is to show that there's constant new blood, constant turnover to go with the people that have stayed on the show as long as they have. So you want to respect the audience with long-term core characters, but you always have to challenge the audience and tell great stories with new actors. So every day, the idea is who's going to bring this next story to life. But there are certainly actors that have been on various soaps where it sounds like they move from soaps to soap, and some of them absolutely do. Some of our amazing actors on the show have been very well known from other soaps. Um,
And also some soap actors that do move on. And can you recall any that were on General Hospital that
well,
have
I
moved
can
on to
just
doing movie fame?
well, soaps are littered with. But by the way, when we cast an actor, we're not saying, "Oh, we're going to cast them because they did another soap."
Hmm.
We cast them because they're the best actor for the role, and they happen to do other soaps. We have about six actors that are extraordinary on the show, award-winning actors that have won Emmys for us as well as Emmys for other daytime dramas. But we felt they were the best person for the role, and they've been fortunate enough that other shows have hired them. But daytime, it's one of those things where it's both a launching pad for
Hmm.
young actors, but it's also a home for actors that want to act, that want veteran actors that want to work, well-known actors that want to work. I mean, the history of daytime is littered, whether it's, Julianne Moore, Morgan Freeman, so many people have come from the world of daytime that it's literally impossible to list. I always say to people, you watch a primetime show and you watch two shows, and I guarantee there's at least one person who's been a series regular on daytime. Like, for example, if you watch The Rookie, Nathan Fillion was on One Life to Live.
That's well, yeah,
So it's basically everywhere. Years ago, I was asked to come up with a list of actors that got their first break on
start,
daytime,
yeah,
and the list was so long with all these big names, primetime film, because if you can act in daytime, I always say you can act in any time.
mm,
Because what we're throwing at actors emotionally, the arc that a character goes through emotionally, and I'm not just talking about the volume of pages, I'm
yeah,
talking about the emotional journey a character goes through is extraordinary. And I always say to an actor, daytime will be the hardest work, but the most rewarding because of the depths
mm.
your character can go through. For example, we had an actor on the show for 3 years, Max Gale,
Oh yeah,
an actor in his 70s.
yeah,
He was
great actor.
known from the original Barney Miller,
Hmm.
and which is a show most of your listeners probably don't know, it was long time ago. But we hired him as a 70-something-year-old actor to play the father of Maurice Bernard. Now that was an example where we brought in a very well-known actor to read with Maurice to see chemistry father son, and it was off the charts even in the room. But the
Love it.
point of this story is we played over 2.5 years in real time his character developing Alzheimer's and passing away.
Wow.
So it wasn't just one episode, literally hundreds of episodes of this man, this life force deteriorating and losing his son and losing who he was until he passed away. Well, that's an extraordinary arc for an actor to
Yeah.
play. So actors come to the show wanting these kinds of stories, wanting to play these roles because they're so juicy and we can play them over real time. So there's a real arc for an actor.
Yeah, that's so well said. Again, you're hitting all these questions that I had, and you just you're so knowledgeable, and there's so much for the audience to learn here, especially the actors out there who want to get involved or are already in the game. You're still teaching, right? You're still teaching and coaching. Over
Yes,
35 years of that, I believe.
actually 40 years of
40
that.
years.
And
Where
I've
have the years
actually and
gone?
I've actually and I've actually been a casting director for 40 years,
Yeah. Well,
35 at General
You
Hospital.
well, you also did a movie with Faye Dunaway.
Yes, that was a movie that was shot in Israel.
Yeah,
It was
seven.
so long.
I probably have it here somewhere. My gazillion
Yeah.
notes about you, but
Yeah, that was a long
seven
that
something.
boy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a long that was 1990. And it's just, yes, it all blurs sometimes, but I'm grateful for every opportunity. And that was fun. And I liked working on movies, but of course, when you work on a show that's 250 episodes, you really don't have the bandwidth or the time to do anything else and still focus on your job. But fortunately for me, this is the job that I love more than any of them.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, and you
um,
and really incredible at what you do. And I want to get into your coaching in a second, but let me ask you this: how much longer do you think you will keep this job? Obviously, you're not going anywhere. Nobody wants you to go anywhere.
I will keep this job as long as they will have me. I love it. Somebody said to me, I ran into a casting director who's left casting,
Uh-huh.
and she said, "Tesh, are you exhausted? Do you ever just want to retire?" I said, "First of all, I love what I do.
Yeah,
I have too much energy. I wouldn't know what to do if I retired.
yeah,
And I have a kid in college. So
yes,
I just want to, just keep going. But I just love it. So I don't think in terms of anything beyond just as long as I'm excited and fiery and passionate, I'm in.
yeah.
I'm
Well,
in.
like I said, you are in. You're great at what you do. Can you give the audience, especially the actors, information on how to, I guess, get involved with your coaching?
Sure. Well, I teach 4 week classes through, oh, I didn't even know you were going to ask me about that, but I teach through TVI Actors Studios. I teach 4 weeks and then I teach another 4 weeks. There's always turnover. And we work on really upping your acting game so that we can apply that to the way you proceed with auditions. And so it's the philosophy of the class is let's make you I have 4 weeks to make you the best actor I
Mhm.
can make you. But at the same time, I'm going to be trying to help you bring what's authentic about you into your work so you can bring that authenticity to your auditions to become better actors because they're really interlinked. You can't give a great audition if you're not a wonderful actor, but sometimes being a wonderful actor, you're missing something that you're not bringing to your auditions. So that's where the casting director comes into my teaching mixed with the acting teacher. And I just, I love teaching because there's something very pure about it. You're in a room with 16 actors and you're working on the craft, and it's so rewarding for me to see an actor grow in 4 weeks. And some of them can be actors that are really just starting out, and we've got veteran actors, but everybody, the energy in the room of actors supporting each other, there's a
Mhm.
certain purity to it that I love, and just helping actors up their game. Just otherwise, if I didn't feel that that was the case, I wouldn't teach.
Yeah, no, it's so important because actors are they're so nervous. A lot of them are very nervous going into auditions or even now working with the ring light and the camera. I mean, the only
Right.
benefit I think of that is they can continue doing it until they get it right and then send in.
That's true.
You
It
know,
could be 10
so
takes.
that's a good thing.
That's like that was amazing. I don't know if it took 10 takes,
Yeah,
but as long as they get there,
as long as they
that's
get
what I
there.
need to see. Right.
Exactly. But having someone like you doing the coaching or somebody that can actually help them, it's a plus because acting is not easy. Nobody ever said it was. It is not
No.
easy. And I know there's people all over the country and all over the world, and you know this more. They go, "Oh my God, it's so easy. I could do that." Well, it's not. It's really not. You could do it in a school play somewhere in a small town somewhere, and you're going to be the top of the game there. But
Correct.
when you get out to Los Angeles or New York or Chicago or any of the hubs, it's a different story. And then you got to meet someone like Mark, and to get in to see Mark is a whole different thing. So
I like what you just said. I like what you just
yeah,
said. Everybody comes here
hmm,
is the best in their hometown,
that's right,
the best looking in their hometown, whatever it is. And then you come into a city where there's 120,000 actors, where everybody that's here was the best in their town. So the competition level is so steep that you now have to be the best in Los Angeles or New York or wherever you are, Chicago.
that's right. The best of the best. And speaking of the best, I want to mention one other thing. I got to read this because you also recently were honored with the 2024 Silver Circle awarded by NATAS, NATAS, which
Yes,
is
National
Achievement and
Academy.
Leadership in the Industry. I mean,
Yeah,
again, a pinch me moment.
that's yeah, that's to me been the I guess you could say that's the best award just
Yeah.
because it's acknowledging, a lifetime of work, and it was. they're acknowledging achievement and leadership, and it was a group of us, and it was really fun to be on stage during the Emmy Awards, so my mother in New York could see it. But that to me was priceless. That to me was sort of a nice icing on the cake, or would it be a cherry on the cake? Whatever it
Cherry
is,
icing. I think it's both.
it meant a lot. It
It's
meant a lot
it's
to me.
delicious. Yeah,
It meant a
it's a
lot
great
to me.
dessert. Look, I understand that. I think any kind of award is a great award, but when you get a lifetime achievement award, something like that, and your importance to the industry, it really says a lot. Um,
I appreciate
and
that.
your daughter and your mother and everyone who sees what you're doing, we are all fans of yours, and I cannot tell you again how appreciative I am of having you on this, for you to give me your time, Mark. I cannot thank you for joining us here on Rollin with Olan. Is there anything else that you want to add? Anything for people to even, watch? I mean, General Hospital, of course. Keep that going because Mark needs a job. No,
That's
honestly, though.
right. Um,
Anything you want to say?
well, first of all, I really enjoyed this conversation. You brought up some really salient points, and this is a conversation about two guys that love what they do, but also are trying to pay it forward and inspire people. And we also talked about not just acting, but whatever it is in your world that you do.
Yeah.
And I just think I've covered it. Just, you have to really love what you do, feel passion in order to succeed, but you also have to have balance and things in your life that matter, not just that one thing, and just enjoy the ride.
Yeah. Well, I admire you so much, and I appreciate once again you coming on. I thank my audience. I thank each and every one of you. Thank you for rolling with Olin. We'll see you next time.